What is up, YouTube family? Today I'm going to be showing you how to start your own microworm culture to feed to your fry. I personally use microworms to feed my guppy fry and molly fry. It can only feed them for a little while because molly fry are pretty large comparatively to, say, neon tetra fry. So it only lasts me a couple of weeks with my fry, but betas and some tetras can last them up to a couple of months. So this is going to be how to start your culture. I'm also going to do another video in a couple of months on how to start another culture based on a culture that you already have. So how to reculture your own microworms, because that is important to make sure they don't go bad. But let's get into the video. So guys, let's start off by talking about what you guys need to start your own culture. Okay, so your setup, here's what you need. You need one Tupperware or plastic container with a removable lid, something to poke holes in the top of the lid with, some type of oats, and some yeast. So it's pretty simple. The hardest thing to find is your actual starter culture. I got mine on eBay because apparently nobody around me does this. I'm probably going to help some people out around me. I know they're looking for some cultures too. So I said, hey, let's get it on eBay and let's make some cultures. So I'm going to start showing you how to prepare and then how to actually make it. Let's do it. Okay guys, so your first step needs to be preparing your Tupperware containers. By the way guys, these aren't my mom's fancy Tupperware. These are just random ones I found at the dollar store for $1, so worked out nicely. So step number one is going to be have something to poke a hole in it with. I'm just using a push pin because it works really well, and all you got to do is poke a whole bunch of small little holes inside the top of the lid. So as you can see, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just a whole bunch of little holes in the top of the bin, and that way they can breathe a little bit. Okay, it's just a whole bunch of small worms, guys. Just treat it just like it sounds. It doesn't have to be fancy. I didn't really put much time into it. I just poked a whole bunch of holes in it. So I'm gonna give you a time lapse here of me completing the other two. Okay guys, so I got all three done. It was pretty simple. Of course, I already had one done. So I realized that you guys might not have been able to see. All I did is poked a whole bunch of holes in it. It only took me a couple of minutes. It's very simple. And let me just cover something really quick. This is what it looks like as a profile. So the most important thing is that the microworms have somewhere to move upwards. So basically, I'm only gonna fill it to about this line, about a 1/4 inch up, because if I filled it any more, the microworms would be able to crawl all the way out. So there's no real reason to make it like as tall as this oatmeal is. Like, that's kind of insane, but it does need a couple of inches. I'd say a good rule of thumb is have it about 3 to 4 inches deep, and surface area is not the most important thing, but obviously the more surface area, the more worms you can have. So I also recommend every year or two to go get another one of these, just for the fact that they do get dirty and these air holes can always get clogged up, and there are 2 of them for $1, guys, so it's not like it's a huge expense. Also, I do have a 4th one that I bought. I didn't poke holes in it yet because I might just use it for food or whatever, but as soon as these 3 are ready to be transferred, what I'm going to end up doing is moving out my new culture specimens, cleaning them all out, starting my new culture within these 3, and then starting a 4th culture in that one. So I'm going to get into like what you have to do for making basically the substrate for them, but that's all it is for the container, guys. Very simple, very cheap. Call it 50 cents if you already have a push pin. Okay guys, let's check out how to make it. So guys, all I've done is remove the lids, and I've lined them up so that you guys can see them pretty easily. So if I can pan over, just over to the right here, these are what I'm gonna be using for oats, okay? Nothing special. I've always been worried about this type of stuff when I was really young. I'd watch these type videos and be like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna have the same results because I'm not using the same thing. Guys, it's oats. It's really easy, okay? All it is something that the yeast can actually just lay in and eat. So it's very simple to make the substrate. I've seen people use instant potatoes. I've seen people use actual potatoes. All it is some type of carbohydrate. Big word there, yeah. But basically an oat, people can use probably rice. You get the general idea. Some carb that the yeast can eat. Also people can use bread. Anything will probably work that is a carb, but just use it as such. So I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do next. So here we are, I'm taking my oats, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour a thin layer into the bottom of each of these until it meets how big I think it should be. So I'm just dumping a little bit in each one. You can see how scientific I'm being with this, okay? So what you're gonna wanna do is you're just gonna wanna look, okay, so that's about how much I want. Remember, you're still gonna have to add that exact amount of water to it too. So I'm just gonna get it to flatten out here. Okay, that's about the same. And this one, pretty thin on the one side, so I'll add a little bit more. And that one. Okay, so they're all pretty even now, guys. It's just about, I want to say, a 1/4 inch maybe of oats. And so now I'm gonna do is kind of funny. I'm gonna take you guys over to the sink, and I'm just gonna fill these guys up with water until that same level. And what I'm gonna do then is dump them all into this one bin right here, okay, guys? Or actually, you know, even better, I'll dump them into this bin right here, the one that I'm not using for this, and then I'll just clean it out when I'm done. Because all this is oatmeal, so it's not like you're getting weird worms all over everything. This is just making oatmeal pretty much. So once you have it, I will take you over to the sink back there and show you that I'm just gonna put some water in it, okay? I'll be back. Okay guys, I decided I'd make this more scientific, so I got my dollar store little, what is it, 1 cup, and what I'm gonna do is measure the exact amount of oats I have. It's just easier to put water in it because it's pretty simple, but if you get the amounts a little bit different, you'll kind of end up not doing very good. So I'm gonna call it 1 1/4 cup. So if it's 1 1/4 cup for that one, it should be about the same for everyone after it. Okay, 1, and this one looks like about half. And so that one's 1, and that one is about 1/4. So one of them had a little bit too much, but we get the idea. So what is that? 3 cups, 4 cups of water basically. So I hope you could see this, but this is the one that I did not cut any of the lid holes in. I got it because it was 2 for $1, so obviously I had them put in for $1. So I got 4 of them, and basically 4 cups of water needs to go in this, and then we're gonna turn on the microwave, which is just right over there, and show you guys what it looks like after about 2 minutes in the microwave. See you in a sec, guys. So guys, we're back, and you can see that I've added a little bit of water here. So it's just, now there's water in it. It's that simple. So now all I'm gonna do is microwave it, and I'll get back to you in a sec. Also guys, a quick side note, I'm using this yeast right here, and I did actually pull it straight from my freezer right there. So this is gonna probably have to sit out for around half an hour to even 2 hours, depending on how cold it really is, until it gets up to room temperature. That way the yeast will be actually active, and I can put them inside the Tupperware. So it's about time for me to go put in another minute, so I'll get back to you guys in just a sec. So guys, I'm back, and I had this in for approximately 3 to 4 minutes. As you saw, I added a little bit of water somewhere in there. I'm gonna pan this down a little bit for you guys. So I added some water because it didn't look like it was fully saturating. Now all I'm doing is mixing it up. This is just a little plastic fork I had laying around. And all you're gonna do is, I like to do it in one big container because it's simple and you don't have to really worry about a whole bunch of little ones. And I know it's all the same consistency, so if something goes wrong, I can remove it all and redo the whole thing instead of one failing and one being alive and one barely surviving. It's all the same. And if I do it right, they're all perfect. And if I don't, I can see the same thing in every single one, and I like consistency, so I'm gonna keep it that way. Basically, guys, I'm gonna have to sit this out for about another, I'll let it sit here for 30 minutes probably, because that's the downside to this. Because it's such a big container, I can just let it sit here for hours and it'll stay hot. So I'm gonna have to spread it down on the bottoms of those 3 containers and let it sit here for about half an hour to an hour. And then I'm gonna add the yeast, which has been sitting here for a little while too. So I will get back to that in probably half an hour. See you guys. So guys, we are getting down to the last couple of steps here. So essentially, there's only a couple more things that we need to do, okay? Step number 1 of the last couple of steps is adding our cultures, and then finally putting a little bit of yeast in there and capping it off. Within a couple of hours, it should have grown, and at least 1 to 2 days later, you can start to harvest. So I'm just gonna get into the video and show you how I am spreading my cultures. So this is my banana worm culture. So as you can see, some sellers give me more than others. So this is a microworm culture, and as you can see, there's a lot more right here than there is in here. So I'm gonna be interested in whether or not this banana worm culture really does flourish. But I've got 2 microworm cultures because I've heard a lot from the seller and they seem really good. So I got 2, and I'm gonna be showing you guys how I'm starting them. Okay, I'm gonna jump right into it. Okay guys, so my next step is I'm just gonna mix this. So it's pretty much cooled down. It's hardened a lot. So I added a little bit of water, not much. It's not that scientific, but you're just gonna spread it around until it makes just pretty good oatmeal. And then I'm just gonna take my banana worm culture and make sure you guys can see this. Zoom down a little bit here. Okay, I'm just gonna spread it all over here on one side, and I'm just gonna grab my fork and just pull it off from the other sides. Just make sure I get as much of it as I can. It's not like I have that much, so I'm actually gonna take a little bit of oatmeal right here and scrape the sides of it to try to get as much as I can, and a little bit more. This just helps you get a little bit more. So I recommend, if you have a friend, just get some from him, but I didn't really have anybody around me that actually did this, so I just ordered from eBay. And as you can see, I got pretty good starter cultures. Some are a little bit better than others, but you know, you get what you get. So I'm gonna do this for all the other cultures as well. And then all I do is I just take this and I mix it in a little bit, just like that. Okay, not to kill any of them, just to spread them around a little bit. And finally, my bag of yeast. We do a lot of baking in my house, so I don't have those little tiny packets that you see everybody else has. I just take a sprinkle of yeast, and I'll sprinkle it all over there. I'm gonna actually do 2, because the yeast is what these guys actually feed on, so I guess the more the merrier, but don't go way overboard. So I'm just gonna really just do that every time. Words are not coming out as they should, can't think today, but that is essentially how you do it. And then I just like to spread it around like that, make it look a little bit better. And then this is my favorite step. All you gotta do is you gotta scrape the outsides on a couple of sides like this, so that you get a clearer side. I hope you guys can see that. I scraped it off of this side so that when you go to harvest, there's nothing else there but the banana worms. So we're gonna do that on every single side, such as this. And so now there's a little bit of clear stuff. that the banana worms can culture into. And next is the microworms. I'll get right into those guys. So guys, next I'm moving on. You see how scientific this is? I just moved this from over here to over here. Those are my banana worm cultures. I'm actually just gonna seal it off right now. A little bit out of camera, but just quick seal. And these guys are good. They have air holes in the top. Got the right lid, everything's good. I'll set those off to the side for now. And next is the microworm culture. So we're gonna kind of repeat the same thing. These ones come in these little baggies, but there's a lot more, so I'm not worried about getting everything out. And my fingers can work today. So as you can see, you just open up the little packet, and I'm gonna get my fork in there and try to get some of this, spread it around. So just so you guys know, this does smell like old oatmeal. So not just this, especially the banana worm cultures. You gotta understand where these cultures are coming from that they're giving you. These are old cultures that somebody has in their house. And so 90% of the time you're gonna get a culture that's old oatmeal and yeast that's been sitting there for probably, I wanna say at least a week, but it's closer to probably 2 to 3 weeks. And if you've ever left oatmeal or yeast out by itself for that long of time, you'll know that it starts going pretty bad, smelling sour. So that's all there is to it, guys. I've got a little bit on my finger. And I'm not that worried about cross-contamination, guys. These are all going to the same fish, so no big problem for me. I'm spreading them around. I got a ton in there. My yeast. There's more worms, so obviously you're gonna need more yeast. I hope that would be obvious. It's just like every other pet. Fish are no different, and neither are what you feed the fish. So I'm just spreading them all over, and this time I'll take about 3 big pinches. Move the fork a little bit there. So that's about it for that one, and we're just gonna do that one more time. So I'll move that guy to the side over here, and there's a little bit left in this culture that it's pretty hard to get into. So I'm not really worried about my fingers getting dirty, so I'm just gonna turn this guy inside out like this and go back to my old culture right here. And as you can see, this is just the bag turned inside out. It looks pretty bad, but all you're gonna do is you're just gonna scrape off, and you can see that you get a little bit more out of it, okay? You paid for everything that you got, so might as well use it. And so you turn in the bag, and these guys aren't gonna hurt you, so don't really be worried. And that's all there is to this culture. I'm gonna go throw the bag away. Not really worried about washing off my hands because I'm doing it one more time right here. So I'm gonna take this one, open it up. Okay, get this more on camera for you guys. So now that I have her open, I'm gonna try to just, here, let's see if I can do that same thing I just did, except with a full bag of it. So I'm just turning the bag inside out, and as you can see, all the worms just fall right out. And so in some of these it'll just be pure worms, but most of them it'll actually give you like the substrate, a little bit of substrate with them. So this one, this is all mostly substrate with a little bit of worms, but just know it is old oatmeal, so it smells like old oatmeal. There's not much else to it, and that is about it. And I'm gonna go throw this bag away, rinse off my fingers here really quick. Okay, and now all that's left for me to do is to just spread this around. I just like to get it all over. Okay, and then I'll move my fork over. Okay, take my bag of yeast. Couple of big pinches. And that's all there is to it, guys. So, I hope you enjoyed. Roll the outro.